What's up guys, and welcome back to Stutter Solutions, and today we're talking about Call of Duty Warzone 2.0 Season 6 and the Haunted Season. Now a lot of people has been requesting in my membership and just in my comments in general with my last video for Season 6 that I uploaded that I need to do an update video for you guys for the Haunted Season, and a lot of people are getting like a really bad gameplay experience, FPS drops and stuff like that. So today I'm going to show you the best settings you can use right now at this very moment for the Haunted Season. And all you need to do is follow my guidelines. And if this worked for you, make sure to smash that motherfucking like button. Leave a comment down below if this actually worked for you. And become a member of my YouTube channel if you want to support my YouTube channel as much as I'm supporting you. Alright, let's jump straight into this video. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so the first thing I highly recommend you go ahead and do is this over here, and it plays a very big role inside your game. You're going to open up your file explorer and come to your documents folder like this, and then go to Call of Duty. You're going to go to players, and you're going to have these files over here. Now you'll have this option over here, and you'll have this option over here. This option is for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 if you've pre-purchased it and you played the beta version, and then this is just Call of Duty Warzone and Modern Warfare 2. You're going to open this up and then just open this up like this. Now, yes, I get a lot of comments asking me, yo dude, why don't you just upload the file to your video and then you just link it and we can all just download it. I can't do that because I don't have the exact same parts as you. I have a 9700K and RTX 2060 OC and 16 gigs of RAM of IPX Fury Samsung B-Die RAMs that's been overclocked. All my components has been overclocked, and the components that I'm running aren't the same as yours, so there's no point in me uploading this config file. You're gonna just need to change the values, the numbers themselves to mine as they are, as you see here. Now, something I just want to point out is, like, for instance, if I copy and upload this file, this will say Samsung by you. You might not have a Samsung screen, so there's no point in you like just downloading this file. Please, all you're going to need to do is just copy my settings as they are over here, the values, make them the exact same as mine, and then I'm going to go over one very important step that you're going to need to change personally to your own specific rig. Alright, so you're just going to copy all of these settings over here as they are over here. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm going to go over some important things that you're going to need to change yourself. Now, I highly recommend that you just pause my video as I went through my config file and copy every single value to the same like mine. Okay, now this is where we're going to change the value to your specific rig, and I just need to explain this. Now, a lot of people don't understand how this works over here, the render work account, and what they should do inside here, but you can actually increase in FPS depending on the machine that you're running. It depends on if you're running a Ryzen or an Intel CPU. It does really depend on it, and I highly recommend that you go ahead and copy this over here. But now we're going to talk about this. Number one, 16 is the highest value you can put inside here. That is the highest value you can put inside here. As you can see, it's the highest value that actually works and actually counts. You can't put 24 inside here. Please do not put 24 inside here. It will just go to its default settings and you'll run the default settings. And I don't recommend you do that, okay? Now, as you can see, mine was 8 inside here. The reason why I have mine at 8 is because I have an Intel CPU and I put my total cores inside here. And no, it's not your E-cores and performance cores, it's your actual total cores. Now, yes, with newer CPUs out there for Intel, it will say performance cores. Those are the cores you're going to put inside here. Okay, so let's make an example. If you have a total of 12 performance cores in Intel, you put 12 inside here. Okay, when it comes to Ryzen, you have to half it. So let's say you have 12 total cores of Ryzen. You're going to put in 6. So it's half for Ryzen and total for Intel. Okay? I highly recommend you go ahead and do this. It plays a very big role inside this game. I'm going to leave mine at 8 and leave mine just like this. Okay? You're going to copy everything inside here. Just pause my video and copy everything inside here. Now, a lot of things inside here has changed. There's a lot of things in this config file that you might not see anymore. That's maybe because you deleted the config file and then made a new one. Now, basically, to make a new config file, you delete this config file and you relaunch the game and it will make a brand new config file for you. Okay? And then you'll see that there's a lot of difference inside here and stuff like that. I don't delete my config file, but the reason why I don't do that is because that my config file that I have now is perfect the way it is. And that's why I say you should copy my settings as they are inside here as is. Okay? Just go ahead and do so. Alright, let's jump straight into the next step. Alright, so the next step I highly recommend you go ahead and do as well is this over here. You're going to go to the start button and go to settings, or you can just go to the search button over here and type in settings, just like this, and press enter, and then open up your settings tab, and then come inside here. You're going to come to gaming over here and you're going to go to Xbox Game Bar. Make sure this is turned off unless you use this. A lot of people do use this and then you're going to have to just play around with this yourself. Alright, I don't use it. You're going to come to captures. Obviously, if you use Xbox Game Bar, then obviously you're going to be using captures. I don't use it. If you don't use it, I highly recommend you just copy every single thing I have inside here as is, and then you're going to come to game mode over here. Now, I highly recommend that you have game mode on for the latest season and the haunted season, whatever the case might be. Right now, for this new updates and everything, I highly recommend you leave game mode on. From here, you're going to come to graphics settings and you're going to come inside here. You're going to have hardware accelerated GPU scheduling turned on this time, and I highly recommend you go ahead and turn it on. Now, something very important is this over here that I want to mention is if yours is off and you turn it on, it's going to say the same thing like this. Restart your PC to apply the changes. Now, you're going to need to restart your computer once you're done watching my video in anyways, so don't restart it just yet. You're going to watch my video to the end, and then you're going to restart your computer, okay? For every settings to take effect and apply to your machine, alright? So I highly recommend you go ahead and turn this on right now for the latest haunted season. And now, this here, I highly recommend if you have Call of Duty inside here, please go ahead and remove it. It's highly recommended to go and remove Call of Duty if you added it inside here. For instance, here is Rust. I'm just going to remove it by just clicking on it and say remove, and it will remove it for me. You're going to do that with Call of Duty. Alright, let's jump straight into the next step. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so the next step I highly recommend you go ahead and do is this over here, and it plays an important role on your machine itself, your specific machine. So your desktop machine, your laptop, or whatever the case might be, whatever you're playing on, Windows 10, Windows 11, low end to medium end to high end to a NASA fucking launching nuclear missile machine. It does not matter what machine you are running, you're going to need to do this. Please go ahead and do this like each and every month, or just remind yourself to go ahead and do this. You're going to come to the search button over here and type in CMD, and then right click on this. It needs to be run as administrator. Please go ahead and do so. Run as administrator and then say yes to the command prompt. It's going to open up a box like this. Okay, you're going to type in SFC space / scan now, one word, and press enter. What this will do is it will run through your entire Windows machine, through your Windows files, through every single drive you have inside your machine, like SSDs, M.2s, hard drives. A lot of people still run hard drives. I get it, don't worry. Now, what it will do is it will actually fix corrupt files for you that is corrupt on your Windows machine. And I highly recommend you go ahead and do this. It plays a very big, important role on your machine functioning correctly. So I highly recommend you go ahead and do it. Now at the end it will actually show you that it's found corrupt files and it actually fixed it for you, or it has not found any corrupt files. It doesn't matter which one it gives you, because if it finds corrupt files, it fixed it for you already, and once you're done with that, you can just close out of this. Alright, let's jump straight into the next step. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so the next step I highly recommend you go ahead and do is, if you are an Nvidia user like me, you're just going to right click on your desktop and go to Nvidia control panel and open this up. I highly recommend you go ahead and come inside here and go to adjust image settings with preview and come inside here. Now you're going to click on use the advanced 3D image settings and click on take me there. Now it's basically just going to take you to manage 3D settings and it's going to take you inside here. Now a lot of people in my comments has asked me, yo dude, why don't you put the game inside the program settings and select it and then choose the settings inside there? The reason why I don't do that is because I use global settings. And the reason why I use global settings is because this actually benefits me with every other game that I'm playing, not just Call of Duty. So I highly recommend you go ahead and copy my settings as you see them inside here. Just go ahead and copy them as is. Please go ahead and do so. So for instance, low latency mode, you're going to have this on. Now, for people out there that only has the ultra option, you're going to obviously select ultra. Just don't have this off, okay? If you have ultra and on, I highly recommend you put this on. Okay, so obviously off and then off auto, and you're going to select your dedicated GPU on OpenGL rendering. You're going to select your dedicated GPU. Prefer maximum performance. 100 gigs still works perfectly fine. It actually helps with stuttering inside the game. On, allow, high performance, on, and then off. Now people with G-Sync and FreeSync monitors, please go ahead and test that out yourself. If you turn it on and your game runs better, leave it on. If you turn it on and your game runs worse, then obviously turn it the fuck off. Don't use it then. Alright, now from here you're just going to apply these settings if you haven't done this already, and you're going to come to config surround and physics. You're going to come inside here. Physics is what's handling your game, so obviously your graphics card. So I highly recommend you go ahead and select your GPU. Do not say auto select, do not say CPU, select your dedicated graphics card, which is plugged into your PCIe slot. 95% of gamers has a dedicated graphics card. Now the rest of the players are obviously APU units. That's basically a CPU built in with a graphics card. That is what an APU unit means, is you don't have a dedicated graphics card, you have onboard graphics that's built into the CPU itself. Now, then I would select CPU over here, or auto select, if you do not have a dedicated graphics card. But most of the people that's watching this video right now has a dedicated graphics card, select it, and then say apply. From here, you're going to come to adjust desktop color settings, and you're going to come inside here. Now, this plays a very, very big role inside this game. If you don't use Nvidia filters, which I don't use myself, if you do, that's your own personal preference. I don't, because it actually decreases FPS. Now, for you to, instead of using Nvidia filters, you can actually come inside here and use this, alright? You're going to click on your main screen that you play your game on. I have multiple screens. This is the one I play my games on, alright? 50% over here on the brightness, 65% over here, and then 1.00 over here. This is default settings that Windows actually comes with, which is 50%. And as you can see, my taskbar, or your taskbar, and your screen itself now completely became like washed out, and it doesn't look that great. So what you're going to do is you're going to actually turn this up a bit. So 65, 75, 85, or you can go to 90 as your own personal preference. Mine is 95. It's my sweet spot, always been my sweet spot, and it probably always will be my sweet spot for my specific rig and my specific screen. Okay, and then from here, all you're going to need to do is apply these settings. Ladies and gentlemen, if these settings do work for you, please smash that motherfucking like button and leave a comment down below if this actually improved your games for you and improve Call of Duty. It would be much appreciated if you give me some feedback. And there is a donation button which says thanks in my video. If this actually did help you by a lot and saved you money and time and effort, click on the thanks button by supporting my YouTube channel. It really means a lot to me. Alright, let's jump straight into the game. Let me show you the best settings you can use inside the game right now at this very moment. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, we are in the game right now, and I'm doing about 132 FPS max. I do normally about 150 to 160 FPS over here in this little section, and also in game I do about 150 to 160 FPS with my machine. It is a 9700K, an RTX 2060 OC, and 16 gigs of RAM. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see here at the bottom of my screen, I'm only using 691 megabytes of my VRAM in the other apps, meaning other apps running in the background of my machine. Now, if you want to know how to disable those things to get lower VRAM usage while just being in the game, so other apps are eating up your VRAM, I have a previous video. I'll actually leave it at the end of this video. Just go ahead and watch it. It is very in detail, but I just wanted to keep you guys informed and up to date with the Haunted season. So obviously, here we are. So something I just want to mention is this over here. There is no physical difference between full screen borderless and full screen exclusive. But there's one tiny thing that I just want to mention is this over here. If you go full screen exclusive, what it's going to do is it's going to give you less input latency and stuttering if you run this game at full screen exclusive. Okay? I don't get stuttering and like input latency on full screen borderless. It's because I have multiple screens. If you have multiple screens, you go ahead and use full screen borderless. Okay, That's if you have multiple screens like me. If you have one screen, one monitor, one display, you go with full screen exclusive. It is the best for less input latency and just the game overall running smoother. So I highly recommend that you go with full screen exclusive if you have one monitor. If you have multiple screens, you go with full screen borderless. Now, something I just want to mention is this over here, and it also plays a very big role inside this game, is this over here. Right now, at this very moment, eco mode is back into the fucking game, and I honestly don't know why this is back in the game. I don't know why they put it back into this fucking game. Number one, turn this the fuck off. You do not need it, okay? Eco mode is just, you can put it on minimal or full. Now, let me just explain what this does. What this does is while you're in the settings menu and you're just in the game, you're not playing yet, you're just in the menu and stuff like that, it will cap your FPS to a lower FPS, like 60, 120, or whatever the case might be, to your screen's refresh rate, okay? So that it, I don't know, maybe saves power, or I don't know, doesn't put such a load on your GPU, but for me, I feel as an IT technician, for a very long time that this is just a bunch of bullshit. Like, honestly, just turn this the fuck off. You don't need this to be on. Turn it the fuck off and do the frames that you should be doing. Don't do fucking 60 or 120 FPS, like, because of your refresh rate of your monitor. No, just turn it the fuck off, okay? If you're on a laptop or a desktop, turn it the fuck off, okay? This one over here is something I just want to mention, and a lot of people don't understand this. Display gamma, I don't know why people are using 2.4. If you are using 2.4, it means you are running a TV. This is specifically meant for a TV, okay? Not a gaming display or a display in general, or a display like a laptop display or a monitor. Okay, if you are using a monitor or a display unit, go with 2.2. That's why that's there. It actually says it on the right hand side. It literally spoon feeds you on what setting you should be using here, on what type of equipment you are running. I'm running a 4K 55-inch smart TV, okay? So I play my game at 1080p, but it's a 4K TV though. I'm obviously not going to be playing at 4K. This game's unoptimized and fucked. Why would I play it at 4K? So I play it at 1080p, ladies and gentlemen. But I put this at 2.4 because I have a TV, okay? If you're running a monitor or a display unit, put it at 2.2. For the love of fuck, please go ahead and do that. Alright, from here, this one over here plays a very big role on your game as well. Constant mouse to game window. If you turn this on, okay, let me just show you. Okay, while it's off, I can get onto my left side screen and I can get onto my right side screen. While it's on and you say apply, you can't get off of Call of Duty. You can't get off of your main screen. So if you just want to focus on your game itself while you're playing, you have this on, okay? I have mine off because I monitor my YouTube and I monitor my Discord and stuff like that while I have this off. So I highly recommend that you choose your own personal preference when it comes to this one over here, alright? This plays the most important role, but we'll get to it just now, okay? Let's jump straight into the quality tab. Alright, so this plays the most important role on the game itself is obviously the graphics, quality, and the settings you're going to be using for this game right now for the Haunted season. Now, right now, I still use this. For all my subscribers that know that I use this upscaling, I use this upscaling right now at this very moment. I still use it. In Modern Warfare 3, the beta version, I was using this upscaling as well. The exact same settings as you see here, this is what I was running for Modern Warfare 3, and I was almost doing 200 FPS in that game with my rig, okay? So it's possible achieving really good FPS in Modern Warfare 3, because Modern Warfare 3 is actually an optimized game, and they actually know what they're doing. So the developers maybe smoking less crack, or they're becoming sober and going to rehab. I don't know. Maybe they are. But in the Modern Warfare 2 series and Warzone 2 series, they are still smoking crack. I can tell you that right now. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, upscaling plays a very big role inside this game. This is my personal upscaling that I'm running right now. You can go ahead and copy it and try it out. This Intel upscaling makes the game look like a AAA title game on ultra quality, 90% on the video memory scale, normal, high, high, and high. Now, for people out there that also wants good quality, good FPS, and they don't like the Intel upscaling, go to Nvidia image scaling over here, and then go to ultra quality, have this at 5, full MIG SMAA T2 times, so you don't get jagged edges, normal, 90, normal, high, high, and high. This is if you have a decent enough machine and the game runs perfectly fine on your machine and you don't have like really bad FPS in the game. Alright? Now, if you're running a lower generation machines, like a low end to a budget machine to a medium end machine, I highly recommend that you go with AMD FSR 1.0. This is the best one right now, or Fidelity FX Cache. Alright? There's three of them, in fact. It's AMD FSR 1.0, it's AMD FSR 2.1, and Fidelity FX Cache. Just do not, I repeat, do not turn this off. Okay? It gives you an increase in FPS by using a certain upscaling and sharpening inside this game. Okay, so with AMD FSR 1.0, you're going to go over here, go to quality, full mic SMA 2 times. If you want to squeeze out a bit more FPS and you don't care about the jagged edges in the game, you go to SMA 2 times, not full mic, and go to normal. And then here, you're going to change this to 65, or you can type in over here 75 and leave it like this. I highly recommend you go ahead and do that. Then over here, you don't have this at normal, you have this at low. Now don't worry, your game won't look like this, it will still look like that. Trust me, it will still look exactly the same as normal. There's not a lot of difference between low and normal, okay? There's a big difference, yes, if you go from this upscaling, okay, like this one, and you have this at low. Then you can actually see the decrease in textures and quality and overall visuals, how the game looks. Then you should have this at normal, not at low. But if you are using the AMD FSR 1.0, then you're going to have this at low over here. 75 or 65 over here. Now, something I want to mention is, a lot of people has mentioned this in my comments down below, is, yo dude, can I even run my Nvidia graphics card with AMD FSR? Now, because it says AMD FSR does not mean you need to have an AMD graphics card. It does not mean that. No. It's an upscaling. It's a certain type of upscaling. So you can run this with an Nvidia graphics card. Yes, you can. Okay? So if you have a budget gaming graphics card like an Nvidia card or a medium end machine with an Nvidia card, you can go with AMD FSR 1.0, go with quality, full mic SMA 82 times if you want to. If you're achieving enough FPS, then you don't get jagged edges. This one over here will squeeze out more FPS, but you'll get jagged edges in your game. No, normal over here, 75 or 65, low, high, high, and high. These three, you never change. Please, for the love of fuck, do not change this. You're going to tear out your own eyes of how bad the game looks. Keep them all three at high. Now, a lot of people do use AMD FSR 2.1. I don't prefer it myself, I really don't, but a lot of people do. Everyone has their own personal preference. Now, if you're going to use this, you're going to go to quality over here, have this at 65 or 75, or all the way up to 80, okay? Low, high, high, and high, all right? Now, Fidelity FX Cache is something that a lot of people still use. A lot of people do use this. When I use Fidelity FX Cache, I put my sharpness and my strength over here at 60. It's my own personal preference. Everyone's going to have their own personal preference on what they're going to do inside here, okay? Like every single person's going to have their own personal preference what they're going to do inside there. You're going to have this at full mic SMA 2 times because the game becomes really sharp. You're going to have this at full mic SMA 2 times because you won't get jagged edges then, because this is a very, very, very strong upscaling and very strong sharpness, okay? So I highly recommend you do put this at full mic SMA 2 times when you run Fidelity FX Cache, alright? You can go to show less over here, obviously after you change this, go to show less. Full mic SMA 2 times, normal. This I highly recommend you play around with. You can go 65, 60, 70, 75, 80, 85, all the way to 90. Play around with it. Find the sweet spot for your specific rig. Now, this you can either have at low or normal. Do not put it at high. Do not put it at very low. Please don't put this at very low. For the love of fuck, don't put this at very low. Your game's going to actually look like that, and it's going to look like you're playing Duke Nukem 3D. Please don't fucking do that. You can have this at normal or at, you can have this at low or at normal, okay? And then high, high, and high. Now, the rest of the settings over here, ladies and gentlemen, plays a very big role inside your game as well. This, clutch draw distance, short, particle quality, low, particle quality level, very low, bullet impacts, you can just leave this on. It has no impact on your FPS at all, and for a lot of machines out there, it has no impact, Okay, if you got a very old ass machine, like a 8-year-old and older, obviously this is going to have an impact because it says low on the GPU and low on the CPU. But if you have a very low end PC in general and you turn this on, you might get an FPS impact and decrease in FPS. So then go ahead and turn it off if you know you got a shit ass old machine. All right. From here, you're going to come to this over here, which is the damage layers. It's your own personal preference if you want to turn this on or off. Shader quality at low. Tessellation off, always off. Leave it the fuck off and thanks. Alright. On-demand texture streaming off. You don't even need this. Like, trust me, you don't need this. I don't use it. You shouldn't be using it. No one should be using it. Turn it the fuck off. Now, this is something I want to mention when it comes to the Haunted Season. Alright. This where it says low. A lot of people are turning this to normal right now, and the game actually looks a little bit slightly better. If you've got a good enough machine that can handle this game really good, and you're doing good FPS, put this at normal. Your game runs really, really fucking well. And the game looks even better on normal than what it does to low. But if you have a budget gaming machine or a budget gaming laptop, go with low over here. Volumetric quality, you're going to go with low. The physics quality, low. Water quality, for the love of fuck, like, I don't know why this is still an option and why they haven't removed it yet, but for the love of fuck, just leave this at default and just leave it there and done. Shadow map resolution. This over here, the shadow and lighting, eats up and hogs FPS. It's all it does. So you're going to put this at very low. Screen space perfections, low. Spot shadow quality, low. Spot cache at ultra. Right now, this very moment for the Haunted Season. Particle lighting, low. Ambient occlusion, off, always off. Don't fucking put this on this. You are not playing single player. You are playing Warzone and multiplayer. So turn it the fuck off. Alright. Screen space reflections, off. Static reflection quality, low. Weather grid volumes, I don't see why you need to put this up to see the fucking weather in the game. Like, I honestly don't see why you would put this on. So turn it the fuck off. Thank you. Alright, Nvidia reflex low latency. A lot of people has asked me in my comments down below, yo dude, should I put it on or on plus boost? Now, obviously it's going to depend on what CPU and GPU you're pairing up with in your machine. Like I said, everyone knows my machine, so I run it on plus boost, okay? This is how I run mine, and it runs perfectly fine. A lot of people are saying, no, you need to put this on like this if you have a CPU bottleneck. Or you put this on over the year if you have a GPU bottleneck. Or you put this on if you have a GPU bottleneck. If you put this on if you have a CPU bottleneck. Right now at this very moment, on plus boost is the best that you can go for right now with the Haunted Season. It doesn't matter if your CPU is bottlenecking your GPU or your GPU is bottlenecking your CPU. Go with on plus boost. It actually gives you an increase in FPS and makes the game run smoother. Depth of field is your own personal preference, world motion blur is your own personal preference, and weapon motion blur is your own personal preference. But for me, as you're listening to me, as a person that makes videos for this game all the time, every time a new update comes out, turn it the fuck off. You don't need this in a multiplayer fucking game. Turn it the fuck off. Right? Film grain 0.00. I don't recommend you play around with this. A lot of people do, so it's going to be your own personal preference over here. And you're just going to apply these settings. Once these settings are applied, you're going to come to the view tab over here. Now, you can copy my settings as is over here if you want to. It's your own personal preference. But I can't tell you what to do inside here because every single person plays differently. Your field of view might be different. Everything inside here might be different. I can't tell you what to do here. But if you want to run your settings like mine, like this over here, you can go ahead and copy my settings as is. Now from here, you're going to come to interface and you're going to scroll all the way to the bottom. You're going to come all the way to the bottom and come over here. All right. System key behavior. I have mine on operating system. You can have this on game, but I have mine on operating system. It's your own personal preference over here. All right. Off, on. Now this is a very important one that I highly recommend you go ahead and take advantage of. Put inverted flash on, where your screen goes white when someone throws a flashbang. Turn this on, your screen will, instead of going white, go black. I highly recommend you turn this on, so you can actually see these things, and then skip introduction movie. Please, for the love of fuck, you do not need to see the introduction movie every time you come into this game, so turn it on. Alright, then we're going to scroll all the way up till here, and you're going to say all on if you don't use MSI Afterburner like me, that you can see this on the left hand side of my screen. If you don't use this, go with all on over here, and then you can see it at the top over here. Now, you can make this a little bit bigger or smaller. That's how small it can go. That's default. And then this is how big it can go. Alright? You can actually choose your own personal preference inside here. Now, I don't need this, so I can just go to all off over here and just leave it off because I'm using MSI Afterburner to see what I'm doing. Okay, now from here, I highly recommend you go all the way up. You go all the way up till here, and you're going to come to color customization. You're going to click on color customization. Filter 2 over here, both 100%, 100%. Scroll down and have these two colors at the exact same colors. Please go ahead and do so. Choose any color inside here, but please make sure that these two are the exact same color. Alright, you do not want to obviously kill your teammates if you're playing Modern Warfare 2, for instance, like ranked mode. Lots of people that is watching this video obviously just plays Warzone, so you can't kill your teammates. But whatever, I highly recommend you keep these two at the exact same color, and then you have your enemy at a color that is not presented in the game, right? So gun skins are pink, yes, but I don't know anything else in the game that's pink. So that's why I use magenta pink over here. It's your own personal preference of what color you're going to choose here, but I have mine as magenta pink, and then I apply the color, and then this is what I use. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the most important step that you're going to need to take to apply all of these settings, is this over here. You're going to come to the display tab over here, and you're going to click on restart shader optimization and click on restart. Once you clicked on restart, you're going to quit out of your game completely and restart your computer. And then once your PC has booted up, you're going to come back into the game. And then at the top left corner over here, it's going to say installing shaders, and it will apply the settings I just showed you to change. Ladies and gentlemen, if this actually helped you, if it physically helped you, and you can see a big benefit out of this, and you increasing FPS and your game runs perfectly smooth right now for the Haunted season, smash that motherfucking like button, leave a comment down below, leave a super thanks. There's a thanks button down below to actually support my YouTube channel by giving a donation to my channel if I helped you out tremendously. It really means a lot to me as a YouTube content creator if you do support my channel or become a member on my channel. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just here to help the Call of Duty community as best I can, and as always, hope this helped you, and peace out.